Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncie Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. We are recording because we're sitting here. We've gone from moms to the cleanliness of our rooms to now we're talking about not being worried about artificial general intelligence. So we're just getting started.
Welcome to a conversation with me.
Welcome, everybody. I want you to meet Sandhya. She's an absolutely beautiful human being who has such a deep background in AI that I just had to bring her to the table and have a conversation. So Sandhya, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. So let's talk a little bit about your background, because you do have this background in AI native products, go-to marketing strategy. You have really seen the gamut of this development. So what sparked your interest in generative AI and automation for especially women entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So I started my career mostly because I didn't want to go to grad school. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do a marketing job. It can't be that interesting. I'll earn a little money and then go back for grad school in psychology. And 15 years later, here I still am. But I did the typical like brand manager thing. I did Unilever, I did Ubisoft, I did Intuit. And then my first kind of exposure to AI was when I joined deeplearning.ai. Andrew Ng, who many folks know as the founder of Coursera and the creator of the machine learning course that every machine learning engineer has ever taken. He has an edtech startup that just focuses on creating high quality machine learning education. And so he needed a senior marketer. And so I joined as his head of marketing and comms. And that was my first exposure. It was in the GPT-2 era, as I like to call it, before ChatGPT was a thing. And so that was my first exposure. And I remember thinking like, there was like months where he was like, oh, like it's like electricity. It's going to change every industry. And I was like, but I don't get it. And if I, as a marketer, don't get it, and I'm used to selling deodorant, if I can sell deodorant, like I can sell anything. And if I can't sell it, then no one's going to buy it. And I kept struggling with this until there was a moment where he showed me like a interactive version thing, like the concept of large language models, because he was like teaching me AI as I was going through. And he taught me about LLMs. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, wait, so if they can you talk to it? Could you talk to the model directly? And he's like, yeah. He was like, it's possible, but it takes effort. You have to know how to code it. I was like, no, but if you put a UX on it, could you talk to it? He's like, yeah, I guess. Yeah, you should be able to. Why? And I was like, no, I'm just like curious. And then I think like maybe a year later, ChatGPT came out. And to this day, this is my like little pedestal hill that I will die on, is that ChatGPT was a UX development, not necessarily a like technological development. Like GPT-3 was the tech thing, but like it wouldn't have made all this impact if people who were outside of AI and outside of machine learning engineers didn't understand what it was capable of. And I think that's what like really enables it. And so that was my start, was just like dabbling and learning about it at a very fundamental level. Went off to do a few things at Meta and data transparency, went off to do a few things at Workday as a chief of staff, but just watching the AI platform and industry change over time. And finally went, wait a minute, I want to be a part of this. And so I joined Women Defining AI about a year ago, actually. And I was one of its earlier members, and I like did a cohort. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh, I'll volunteer to be a mentor for the next cohort. And like the second time around, A, I learned as much as I did the first time. And B, so much had changed in what, like 2 months, 3 months. And that just blew me. I was like, oh, like I got to go find a job that lets me keep on top of this. And so I did. And so I work at a company called Glean. We make an enterprise AI platform. It does magical things. But yeah, like that was my introduction to AI, was just intersecting and being at the right space at the right time, but also realizing that, hey, I could have swum away, but I was like, no, I need to get back into this.
And I am really interested in the community that you have become so much a part of, because I think that it is vital for women, especially, to be able to recognize the amount of other women that are in the room having these similar conversations. So, can you help us understand a little bit more? What is women defining AI? Why
Yeah.
is that such an important initiative right now?
Yeah, Women Defining AI is an AI literacy nonprofit. It's based on this idea that women and non-binary people tend to be left out of technological advancement and pushed to the side. And AI is one of those things that's so exponential in growth. If you're not there at the beginning, it's really easy to get left behind. And we want to ensure that doesn't happen. And so there's this fantastic book came out years ago called Invisible Women by Caroline Criado Perez. And basically, it's about this fact that there's just not that much data about women in so much of what we do, like from seatbelts to medicine to, as any woman knows, office temperature, like what's considered room temperature, like all of that stuff is based on, quite frankly, like white Caucasian males. And so if you don't fit any of those categories, like you tend to not be like allowed. You see this happen everywhere. It shows up in healthcare, it shows up in education, it shows up in workplace biases. And if can you imagine if like all these systems get automated and they're all trained on this data, but all that data only serves the white Caucasian male audience. That's not a good experience for them or anyone else. Like anybody who's like suddenly not in that average space is screwed. And so what I really want to do and what our founders, Helen and Nicole, have come up with is basically it's so important for women to be part of building these things that they're not just left behind to be users because it ultimately shapes what they do. Otherwise, you get things like Apple releasing a watch that doesn't track for it's supposed to be for health but doesn't track menstrual cycles. Come on. That's half the planet. But you get things like that, you like things that are overlooked as not necessary. And so is that those are the kinds of things where you're like you really need to have women part of the conversation, not just exploring AI or using AI, but building it so that it can then be set up to serve them as well as other audiences.
And that's vital to have that conversation
Absolutely.
in the room.
Yeah.
You're talking about anything, as you pointed out. I remember interviewing doctors when my husband and I were talking about having a baby. And it's just, I wanted that person in the room who had the experience, who had I don't want somebody that is a white male telling me what is going to happen. It's no, you don't know what you're talking about. You're never going to be living in this space. So just like what you talk about with the Apple Watch, if we don't have these women in the room, not only having the conversations, but helping design the tech, as you said, we are leaving a vast amount of history, experiences, perspective on the table.
And quite frankly, we're leaving the ability to influence where it goes. So one of my favorite things to talk about is AI UX, obviously, because ChatGPT was the first big one, but there's tons of these things happening. Like once upon a time in the web, like people didn't know how to navigate websites. They looked like somebody's cat threw up on it. And then eventually we all figured out that, hey, over time, the best practice is to have a little hamburger. And that little hamburger consistently across the internet now means menu. And it means that if you click on it, you get a little menu of like other things to look at, and it helps you navigate through the website. You and I know this intuitively. People who are probably born after a certain point, let's say like 1990, probably don't know that there was a time before that, right? They're like, oh, this has always been that way. And people who like didn't interact with the internet for a while in a certain era had to be taught to that. But like now we all speak that common language. AI is going through the same thing. We're all learning, oh, this is what a chat box is going to look like. An assistant has this format, it has this look. There's a big white space at top, there's a box at the bottom. We write inside of it. There's little things that you can toggle on and off, and you can always see them, but you can toggle them on and off. You can add things like, and then the little menu pops up. There's all these like little intricate things that make it easier to access, that make it easier to use the product. And those changes are happening right now. But what happens if like women are not using the product? Let's not even take building. Let's just take using. If they're not using it, like all of a sudden you're not going to be able to see, oh, wait, you're going to get things like the iPhone, what was it, the iPhone 14 or something, which was so huge. Like most women, like the average woman couldn't hold it in her hand in one hand. And it was like, that's crazy to me that like you have devices, you have hardware, you have software that's being designed that literally like pushes out a large portion of the population. That's ridiculous. Like, I want to make money if I'm making an AI product. Why would I ignore half the planet? And so I think it's so important that you have women in your data, that you have women in your user groups and testing groups and beta testers. You have women in your development process, and that you ultimately have women making decisions about what gets made and what doesn't. So I'm very lucky at Glean. We have Tamar. Tamar Yehoshua is our head of product and technology. She's a phenomenal leader in this space. She's done amazing things. And you can see that she brings her whole self to work, and it encourages everyone to be like, okay, yeah, I'm an engineer who's been trained, blah, 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 but I also have a passion for something else, and I'm bringing that to work. And I think so many women are taught, like, you just follow the rules of what's been set in front of you. And I think that by encouraging women to be builders, it breaks that, because no, there's nothing in front of you. You're building it. So come bring your whole self to work. Like, I got interested in AI. I joined Women Defining AI because I wanted to find a way to make managing daycare emails easier. Like, no lie. I was just like, it's $10 a month. Like, I'll come in, I'll learn a thing. I'm just trying to get my handle on these, like, too many damn emails. And it's completely pivoted my career. It's been this amazing process, and I completely attribute it to the fact that the ethos of Women Defining AI is we want you to build with us.
That's what is so energizing about this space. It is that we are connecting with other women who are as passionate about the work they get to do with each other as the next woman that you meet. And that energy, you and I have talked about this before, the energy when you come together, when all of these women come together in a space, is absolutely just electrifying. You could light up a building with it.
And so that's the thing, right? Like, I've been in a number of female communities. Like, I've led a number of them. I'm in Moms in Tech as a moderator, and I run their editorial programming. I'm in Little Brown Diary as an admin. It's a huge community of South Asian millennial women. And the thing that I find over and over is, like, in these female communities, like, people aren't just interested in kind of learning their own skills. Like, I came in to learn something, and I got what I needed. And then my instinct was like, oh, let me turn around and help somebody else. And just the ratio of that, there's always people who help and there's always people who don't. But the ratio of people who help to those who don't is so high in female communities, just from my own personal anecdotal non-scientific experience, that it's every time there's a question, there might be someone who hasn't slacked a message in months, but then they see something and it's relevant. They're like, oh, here's a thing. I know how I can help. And I love that. I love that the space is not about, I want to be an AI expert. It's, I want all of us to be AI experts. And what that enables is now all of a sudden, I don't just have access to an AI expert in marketing, which is what I am. I now have an AI expert with legal background, with an accounting background, with operations background, with like finance background. And we've all helped each other. And so now when I need that expertise, I'm building my network. And I just think this like type of structured networking, this is like very intentional. Hey, we're here to build together, has enabled a bunch of people to come to the table and find each other. So then Women Defining AI becomes this nexus point for all these people trying to do their own thing, trying to build their own companies or products or programs or whatever it is, but then, or even just easier lives, and coming together to then be like, oh, let's bounce off of each other. And that, like, that energy is just, it's addictive, honestly.
Yeah. And I really want to see more women positioning themselves as AI ready leaders in their various fields, because I just think that we are completely underrepresented. As you said, I know I'm preaching to the choir, right? So how can we help put them in that space where they can position themselves in that way? How do we help them overcome those barriers to women embracing AI?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to two things. One is nobody's an AI expert. right? This entire industry didn't exist 3 years ago. So if you can learn a thing, like as someone who went from doing a very different job with a very different background to now being in the AI space, like it took me 3 to 6 months of spending about a half an hour a day to get to where I am. And what I will say is, especially for those folks who are like further along in their career, like they have that craft, AI is better for you than anybody else on the planet right now. Because nobody knows how to make AI products that know what's good. Or they might know what's good, they don't know what's great. And so what's going to happen is you have your craft. So AI is going to make you average. This is my other TED talk, is AI makes you average. So it'll do the grunt work for you. It'll get you to average. And then your craft is what's going to distinguish between that good and great. And so now all of a sudden you don't have to spend all your time doing this. You don't have to spend your time writing the first draft. You don't even have to spend your time doing the first round of editing. Like honestly, like that does it. AI can do that for you. Like my ChatGPT writes a lot of my like blog posts. But once you get to a certain point, then you're like, oh, like you need the initial spark. You feed it into the AI, elevates it up to a certain level, and then you make it fantastic. And so you, like human plus AI working together, that's what actually achieves like fantastical results. Whereas AI by itself it'll give you average of averagest, which quite frankly, like there's not a ton of. Like most of the codified, available in English, digitized data that exists in the world, not only does it speak to mostly white Caucasian men, it also speaks to hard sciences. So it's great for coding. It's great if you need to like do something in chemistry, but most of the time I'm writing, I'm communicating, I'm expressing emotion in some capacity. I'm persuading somebody, I'm responding to something. And at least as a marketer, and that's not something that AI does really well. And so to me, there's a level of craftsmanship that goes into let AI get you to average, carry you to average, and then you get it to great.
Mhm. And I think you're debunking one of those myths, right? Right there, because a lot of people think that they need that technical expertise.
A lot of people think it's flipped. They're like, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna give it my first draft and it's gonna make it awesome. No. Like it gives you a first draft and you make it awesome. And I think that's one part of it. I think there's also this idea, I remember Nicole posted about this in our Slack community. We talk a lot about this kind of stuff. And she had posted this article that talked about how executive women, like women in the C-suite of Forbes, like top companies, believe that using AI feels like cheating.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
That most women in corporate
Well,
America feel that AI is cheating. And I was like, do you consider it cheating when an executive has an EA that helps them manage their calendar? Or a chief of staff, as a former chief of staff, right? Is it cheating to have a chief of staff? Is it cheating to have a personal board of directors? Is it cheating to have a therapist? Is it cheating to have a consulting agency who has specialized experience in XYZ, right? Absolutely not. That's just not the business. So then why is it cheating if all those things are digitized and accessible for $20 a month? Right? But what the sense of it is like, oh, it should be hard. And you're like, no, it's not about hard. And I think this is what happens when you spend too much time and energy elevating the effort as opposed to the outcome. And it's a very millennial thing. Like we want our participation trophies. Like I did this thing and it was really hard and I stayed up till 2 a.m., doing this data analysis. Rings a lot better to us than, oh, I worked hard and I stayed up for an extra half an hour while I was watching TV to do this data analysis, right? It doesn't ring the same way. But like at the end of the day, you're getting the same. If you are getting the same outcome, which is hard, right? That's a hard thing, but we're making an assumption there. Like, why would you want somebody to work harder? Like, why would you want them to spend an extra 4 hours doing something when they could have slept? Come to bed, come to work well rested. So it's that kind of stuff where I think we glorify the effort when I think instead we need to glorify the journey. It's not about the outcome, because sometimes it's like, oh, I got to the outcome. It's the most quickest, efficient way possible. Yeah, like you can ship an Apple Watch. You can also forget half the population while you do it. That's not necessarily the best case. What you need to do is say, have we done the right steps? And if I can do those steps faster, if I can do those steps more thoroughly, if I can do them more meticulously by using technology, then that is the true win. I just think there's a lot of different value systems in society, and that's fine. But like some value time and some value effort, some think they are the same thing. Some value only the outcome, and it's like the ends justify their means. And I think the actual answer is somewhere in the middle, like most answers in life. And the answer is it's somewhere in the journey. Are you doing the right steps? And in that process, if you use technology to speed it up or be more thorough or be more personalized or whatever it is to just do it at a higher quality, then that's the right approach because that balances that need between speed and quality that most people seem to think are like opposite ends of the spectrum. And instead, AI can help you make it the same end of the spectrum.
Yeah. You brought up so many things for me because when you said millennials were that generation that grew up with the participation trophy, right? I remember that distinctly in my world because it made me aware as a Gen Xer raised by boomers. It wasn't even about getting the recognition for participation. It was the martyrdom of silent efforts unrecognized.
So many women are taught to do that. We are
Yes.
socialized. We are socialized for it. It gets so socialized so freaking early that women, girls are supposed to help each other and everybody around them. And my thinking is that if that's the expectation, why can't we use it to help ourselves? Why can't we take that and apply it to go then build the AI startups of tomorrow? It kills me. It honestly kills me every single time I read about yet another lean AI native startup and I look up the founders and there's not a single woman among them.
Mhm.
And it kills me. And I just, there's so many out there. There's so many people doing amazing things out there, but they're just like afraid to take that step or they're afraid to do it. And I'm like, fine, go find your people, go find your community that will back you up, go find your cheerleaders because that's what I have. I was actually a little scared to come on this podcast. No lie. Like Helen offered it up in the group and she was like, hey, I could do this podcast, but I think that you would be a better fit. And I think you'd be able to talk about this journey better. I think you'd be able to talk about your experiences that and be relevant to this particular audience better. So you should do it. And I actually was like, no, are you really sure? I feel like that's, and she was like, no. And because she is my cheerleader, I am here. And because I am someone's cheerleader, hopefully they get even further. And I think that is an attitude of helping. You might break the glass ceiling, but you got to help the next person behind you. And I think for so long, there's only one. It's the same thing we've heard in corporate America for years, right? For decades. It's not that you have to be the one woman at the table and you're all fighting for the one seat. Get more seats at the table, right?
Yep.
Overthrow the table and get your own damn table. Right?
Yes.
And
It's not just about sitting at the table, it's redefining and designing the room.
yeah, and
100%.
I see so many health and wellness space startups now, and I'm waiting and waiting for the one that is entirely founded by women, where it's not just about women's health, but it's like, oh, we do men's health too. And it'll take a while. It'll take a while, but I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that one because that to me will be the sign that, oh, like people understand and respect the buying power and so quite frankly, the economic power of women because we are creating our own economy. We're not just consumers anymore, that we are builders.
Yes. And I absolutely love the fact that you brought up the glass ceiling because I think that's a really important conversation to have is that it's not just about breaking a glass ceiling, it's about not falling off the glass cliff. And the way we don't fall off is through training. It's through awareness. It's through camaraderie, collaboration. But I think it's not just any collaboration. I think it needs to be with other women so that you can see it's not just about having any one woman in the room to be that high.
Tickler.
It's not a token conversation. It's an entire supportive, collaborative perspective recognition, right? That you're recognizing that this group is a conversation starter. This group is a perspective that needs to be valued and really listened to. And
Yeah.
so it's in order to not just sit in that room alone, as you said, it needs to be community based and
Yeah.
collaborative.
And honestly, I think that's our secret power, right? Fine, we've been socialized for millennia to be community builders, to be kin keepers, to create relationships where none may exist. Fine, let's go use that, right? Let's go build those communities for ourselves. Let's go create those spaces for ourselves that allow us to go be the best versions of ourselves. Like, why should we be waiting for somebody else to approve of it? That was the biggest part to me. There are so many times where my husband's an engineer. There's so many times where I'm like, "Oh my god, if I give you specs, will you build this app for me?" And so many times he's been like, "No, like, you should learn to code." "I'll help you learn to code." And God bless him, he wants me to learn to fish, but I'm not gonna go learn to code. I don't want to. Now, I don't have to. I went into Vercel, I wrote one sentence prompt that wasn't even fully English. Like, it was English, but it wasn't even a full grammatical sentence. And I turned, like, almost our entire Notion, course that we teach at Women Defining AI that kinda teaches you the fundamentals of AI, gets you go the course that got me started and everybody else. I turned that course into an app with one sentence. I was like, all of a sudden it was a mobile app, and we're tweaking it and we're experimenting with it, but it's holy crap. Like, I don't have to learn to code. I have to learn to very clearly define what it is that I'm building. That I can do, right? And that my community can teach me how to do. And I think there's just so much value there of like extracting the great ideas that have sat. It's like the greatest book in the world is probably one that's never been written. Right? It's that same concept. It's like the concept of, like, micro apps where you, like, spin up an app or a piece of software to do a thing, and then it does it, and then you shut it down, like, all of these things, like, this era of AI is so much more than just business impact. It's like the way we do work is changing, and the way we do work is changing in a way that your community and your ability to bounce ideas with others and grow with others becomes exponentially more valuable. The network effect becomes exponentially more valuable, but the threshold to get into that network is no longer a super pedigreed school or job or a blue chip name on your resume or like who or social class or any of that. The barrier keeps breaking and breaking with every generation, where now the threshold is you just need a laptop and internet access. ChatGPT is free. And that to me is, oh, you're there, you're so close. And if now that every time that barrier is so little, if we can just help people meet that barrier that they don't realize is so small, they think it's so high, but it's not. If we can just help them meet that barrier, it catapults them into a different era. It catapults them into a different like stratosphere. And that to me is the most exciting thing about Women Defining AI, like our mission of AI literacy is really just we will be your little rocket booster so that you can go explore Jupiter.
Exactly. And that connects back to what we were saying earlier, where it's like the work is shifting. It's not cheating, right? We're
Yeah.
not cheating because we're creating a streamlined workflow where, for example, as you said, a single sentence can explode into an entire app, which will then just need your humanity, your perspective, your creativity to develop a little bit more refinement. So it's so much of what is possible is about freeing up that mental bandwidth so that people can focus on these bigger challenges. And we could amazingly, my God, what if I spent that time that I have now saved reaching out to people for another perspective on my product or another voice in the creation of something that I myself do not have?
Exactly.
So, what are some of those most effective tools that are going to help us with those automations that free up time, that allow us to bring that humanity to the table?
Yeah.
You
So
mentioned one just a moment ago, that I had never heard of
Yeah,
before.
Vercel. Yeah. It's amazing. And I will say this, like, that was literally my first time trying something. So I've put exactly one sentence into Vercel, and that's what I got out of it. And it was like, now I need a Notion API key. And I was like, Helen, help. That was amazing to me. That was like, I have this idea for an app, like a personal adulting app that I wanted to build. My husband and I did it in a hackathon, like a proto hack was a community that for no code development. And we came up with this. Yeah, this is what we did before we had children. We went to weird little hackathons.
It's those who
Um,
nerd together stay together.
Right. And so we had this like idea for an app that would teach you and remind you to do all the things you need to do as an adult, your car stuff and your house stuff and whatever. First of all, ChatGPT can do all of that. It's probably just a custom GPT these days. But two, if I wanted to build that app today, I could. And it like blows my mind that I can do that. So I think there's like a couple things, right? I think there is different skills that are useful, and then there's different tools that are useful. If you go through the flow, I think the first thing is like identifying the problem. That is still a useful skill. No AI is going to be able to do that. Someone's going to have to figure out, oh, this is the problem, and identify the root cause. So like it can speed up the process to do a root cause analysis, but like the identification of a problem and the prioritization of a problem is still dependent on the human. The next part is taking down whatever process that you're trying to do or whatever task you're trying to do and breaking it up into its small pieces. Again, AI can help with this, but at the end of the day, you are probably the only one who knows your systems. And especially in an enterprise context, you probably don't even know all the systems. There's something, Glean did a research study with ISG a little while ago. There was something like the average enterprise uses 1,421 applications. Yeah, 1,421 on average. That was like ridiculous to me.
This is why
So
my tech stack is so expensive.
yes. So like SaaS sprawl is a thing, right? Especially in enterprise. And both on the consumer and enterprise runs, you're still going to have to like take the insights and say, okay, like this is a process. Let me break it down into pieces and then systematically go, okay, can this be automated? Nope. Can I break it into littler parts and have one of those automated and another one be automated? So you have to do we call it process mapping, but it's map out all the little steps that you might need. Now, in the consumer world, most of these steps are very simple. It's read my email, like scan for a filter for everything that comes from my daycare, summarize each email, and then spit it out, right? Like in a text format. Done. That's 4 steps. Now imagine you're trying to do this to like a procurement process, right? Like the millions of little steps that happen. So it can get very simple, can get very complex, but you have to process map. Again, some of it is human, some of it is AI. And then the third step is having some sort of orchestration layer. In the consumer space, you have things like Gumloop, which I'm a big fan of. They have this fantastic learning cohort. Shout out to Erin, who runs it. They have make.com is very popular for small businesses. Glean is very popular for large enterprises and some smaller businesses as well. But we tend to do best with when you have too much data that not everybody at the company knows each other. That's typically the threshold where we become really useful. And there's others too in this space. There's like Zapier is trying to shift to be more AI native. But basically these orchestration platforms, they can call upon company data. They can call in enterprise, right? I'm going to use enterprise as an example because I know the space well, but it's like they call upon your data. They call upon the tools and actions and triggers that you interact with, the data sources you interact with. Can I read? Can I write? Can I update? Can I track that I did all these things? Can I make this flow together? Branching logics, all of that stuff. And they put all of it together and then they allow you to move through it. And as you automate it, then you hit problems and then you debug them and you hit problems and then you're basically coding, but no one tells you you're coding because that scares people. And these 3 steps, the identification of the problem, or 4 steps, identification of the problem, the process mapping, the orchestration, however you want to call it. Sometimes it's manual. Typically there's some kind of platform that's helping you do it. And then ultimately the iteration where you go back and tweak it and get better and better. This process is about to speed up. And so what you will start seeing is I think who will win is the tools that win are the ones that let you do multiple steps together. So ChatGPT, for example, helps you like identify the problem. It helps you process map, can't do agent orchestration yet, and that's where it falls apart. But it at least gets you to halfway there. Like the Zapiers of the world, the Make.com, the Gumloops of the world, right? They can't do identification of the problem, but sometimes they can help you with process mapping if it's simple enough. Like you can type a sentence into Zapier and it'll give you the answer. They can help you with orchestration, and then they can help you with fixing it for sure, like making it better and making it sharper. Glean, I think, does an amazing job because we actually do touch all of them, because we have both the assistant that you get from ChatGPT and the orchestration layer you get from Zapier in one product that then talks to each other. But that's a different podcast. And what you ultimately want is something that allows you to do these things with minimal friction as possible. And the faster you get to that point, the faster you're able to translate this format to this format and this step to that step. That is when you're going to start seeing the change, like the true business impact or the true life impact, is being able to test those things. And something that I highly encourage people to do is Andreessen Horowitz has a market map that they update every so often. They do the top 50 consumer apps on mobile, the top 50 consumer apps on desktop. And I think they do something around enterprise apps as well, if I remember correctly. And they just do a shout out, and they try to be agnostic to their portfolio companies. And they basically just do, hey, here's what's really popular. Here's what we think is really making a space for itself. And I find that that is a great place to start, of just learning what's happening, because every time there's a new app created, inevitably one of the 5, 10 kind of central apps will pick it up as a feature. And so quickly you start seeing what is a feature versus what is a product. And you'll start picking up features and capabilities. And so you can get a sense of, okay, these are the capabilities that are available to me. Right now, I can write to Salesforce, but writing to a Salesforce custom object, which is what most people have, is really hard. So I got to go through probably a larger company that has done the effort to do that, rather than a smaller company who probably can't, even if they all connect to Salesforce. That's a very, very specific problem that I talk about a lot. So it's top of mind for me. But same thing, it's everyone can read your email, but how many of them give you security access or enterprise access? So there's all these like other considerations. So you have to figure out, how far away from the sort of nexus of AI do I want to extend? How weird is my new capability that I need? And if it is, how am I ensuring, is it like popular enough that I'm ensuring it comes back? Because if it's not picking up traction, it means other people aren't asking for it. If other people aren't asking for it, then you're probably like going down the wrong path somewhere. Like maybe there's an easier, better way to do it, right? So all of this is a very complicated like explanation, but I think it really comes down again to those like 4 steps. And if you can follow them, like you're 90% of the way there.
Yeah. So is that one, if a listener is going to take away just one action from this conversation, is that really what you want them to think about?
I would say, okay, here's everybody's, maybe not 5-minute homework because mine turned into a career, but here's your 10-minute homework, right? Maybe an hour even. Find a problem. Find a problem that bothers you, that you're like, God, some computer should be able to do this instead of me. Go ask ChatGPT, go have a conversation with ChatGPT and have it help you map out all the steps. Then try to see if it can help you identify tools that ChatGPT is not bad. It might be able to identify the tools that can help, even if ChatGPT itself can't do it. It can help you identify the tools that can, and then go try to build it. And if you get stuck, go try to build the minimum viable, like the simplest version, build it step by step. Because the sooner that you build that systems thinking capability, the sooner you'll actually be able to do it. Like that to me has been the difference between engineering AI native products and everybody else, is engineering AI native products are going faster than anything else in the market, because their target audience doesn't have to be taught systems thinking, because that's literally, coding is just systems thinking in a different language. It's okay, I speak English and Spanish and JavaScript, right? That's a common engineer joke. It's they're not kidding. If you know how to do that type of thinking, it's very mathematical in some cases. Like if you know how to take a problem, break it into smaller parts, try to solve it. If you can't break it into smaller parts, try to solve it. The minimum viable problem, that is systems thinking. And there's a lot of people who can do it. I'm one of them. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was valuable. I was just like, oh, this is just my weird little idiosyncraticity with my obsession with systems and checklists and my type A personality. No, embrace all you type A personalities. This is your time. all you Hermione Grangers, this is your time. You are going to do so well in the AI era because you know how to define your problem and provide guidance on the solution. Everything that makes you a great senior IC or first line manager is what's going to make you great at AI. And I think that a lot of women especially get stuck in that first level manager or maybe even director role, and then they never move past it in their careers. This is going to be the accelerant that helps you. So go find a problem, go ask ChatGPT to help you figure out the right tools, and then go experiment with the tools. I was nervous about going into Vercel. I've been here a year. I literally run go-to-market ops for an AI literacy nonprofit. And I was nervous to go into Vercel. I was like, oh, it's coding, it's an engineering ICP. Like, it's for an engineering persona. Am I really the right person? It was so easy. It was like talking to ChatGPT that can code and create like a front end for me. So go do it. I promise you, it's not nearly as hard as you think it is. And if you get stuck, come join us at Women Defining AI. We'll help you out.
And I really am interested, what's next for you as we wrap up this conversation? What is next for you and Women Defining AI?
Yeah, this is the year of growth for us. We have established this amazing roster of people who are doing a bunch of things. We are going through this process of trying to AIify our entire operations. So everything from the content we create to our social platforms, allowing the humans to provide the spark of creativity and then having the AI do the rest. So we're going through that process right now. We are also going through, we have our own podcast, we have our own newsletter that you can follow. And then we're also doing this phenomenal thing where we're doing regional groups or like subgroups. So we have a number of them all over the world. Our London group is especially big. Our San Francisco group is pretty big. But there's a Durham group, there's a Chicago group. They're all over the place. Anyone can create one once you hit a certain threshold. But basically, we're here to enable you to not just have this theoretical Slack community that's, oh, all these people that like live on other parts of the world that are cool. But hey, I'm in Bangalore and I want other people to do this with. We have a space for you. Come join us. Come be part of our chapter. Come help. Come get the community that you want.
Yes. Yes. And
So this is the year of growth for us. We want to get the word out and we want to make sure that people know that there is a place for them to experiment and fail and iterate and learn together.
I love it. And so needed. So thank you so much for being such an active part of making it happen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Michelle.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource, created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.